On the menu today is something slightly different because we're going to be making a coffee garlic steak with rosemary mushroom butter. Yes, you heard me right, coffee garlic. It's a coffee garlic rub from Trader Joe's, and we're going to be using it to season this steak overnight. Now, if it sounds a little strange, just trust me on this because there's another rub that I've used from Trader Joe's, a South African smoked seasoning, which I use many, many times and is just terrific. And this rub also comes from South Africa, so I have high hopes for it. So I just want to go ahead and get a good dusting of this rub on this USDA Choice New York steak. It's a boneless steak, and I went with a choice instead of prime because we're going to be adding a lot of flavor on the outside. We're also going to be using that rosemary mushroom butter, so we're going to be kind of piling on the flavor. And when you have a prime cut, sometimes you want to just stick with the beef flavor that comes in that and the extra marbling, but there's nothing wrong with a choice New York steak, let me tell you. So we're going to go ahead and start getting our rub on here. You want to press it in there. Let's turn it over. Get a nice heavy coating on here. Get some on the sides too. And this steak is about a pound, not very big. And that's it. We're going to transfer this to a plate. It's going to go in the refrigerator overnight, uncovered. And then tomorrow we are going to cook this up out on the Weber kettle using the cast iron grates. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, the kettle's been heating up for about 15 minutes with my 8-inch cast iron skillet in there warming up. Let's get our lid off and start making our rosemary mushroom butter sauce first. First thing I want to do with my pan off the direct heat, we're still indirect here, is I want to add 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to let that start melting. While our butter is melting here, I want to add a few sprigs of fresh rosemary. So get that down in here and start releasing those rosemary flavors into this butter. I'm going to slide this over and get a little bit of direct heat now. Oh, great rosemary smell coming off this. All right, we're going to slide this indirect again for a few minutes. Go ahead and get my rosemary pieces out of here. They've done their job. If we lose any rosemary needles in there, that's all right, we'll get them later. Now I want to add a 1/4 cup of some chopped mushrooms. We're going to go back to direct heat. We're just going to soften these mushrooms up in here. Let them absorb some of that rosemary flavor from the butter. Good, we're going to move them back indirect. You can see how well that cast iron just retains heat. All right, we're going to cover this with foil, set it aside, move on to our steak. All right, we're going to give this a turn. Screaming hot coals on here. We're probably going to go 2 turns and then we're going to move it indirect to let it finish off to 125 degrees internal. Turn. That coffee garlic rub smells fantastic on here. And give this another turn this way. All right, we're going to go ahead and move this indirect because we got a nice crust on the outside there now. All right, we're going to get our lid on and we'll check this in about 5 minutes for internal temperature. Okay, we've been going 5 minutes. Let's give a check of our internal temperature. Come in from the side here, dead center in the thickest part. Yeah, we're only at 80 degrees. We have a ways to go, but that's fine. We're going to leave this in here indirect and we'll check again in about 6 minutes. So as I mentioned, we're going for 125 internal on this coffee garlic rubbed steak. I like to use the meat thermometer. If you're one of those people who can do it intuitively, or you can just touch it and know when it's done to your liking, do that. I prefer to use the thermometer. I don't know those other things. I don't want to overcook it or undercook it. So we'll check this here again in just a couple minutes. All right, let's give our steak a check. Let's use our tongs here to rotate this a bit. Get right down in here. Looks like we're at 109. So I'm thinking another 5 minutes, we should probably be really close to that 125. All right, we've been going another 5 minutes. Let's give it a check. I think we're gonna be close. You can see it. Let's see if we can see it. 125. All right, we're gonna get our steak off. We're gonna let it rest for about 10 minutes. Then we're gonna cut into it and add some of our Rosemary Mushroom Butter Sauce. So here is our finished coffee garlic rubbed New York steak. There's a really nice smell coming off of this. That coffee aroma is terrific. I've used coffee and other rubs and things before, and I really gotta tell you, if you've never tried it in your own rub or in a pre-made rub, give it a shot. Great flavor addition, especially to beef. Now we are gonna cut into this, but I wanna go ahead and drizzle some of our rosemary mushroom butter on here. And we'll just spread these out. A little bit more of this butter on here. That rosemary just completely perfumes the butter. It smells amazing. Now let's cut into this. Let's throw a sprig of rosemary here just to give it a nice little pop of green. So let's cut in, and I'm gonna cut in right about here. There we go. Ah, just how I wanted it. That looks like a nice medium rare to me. Oh, look at that. Let me cut a slice here. That is looking terrific. I'm not waiting anymore. It's time to taste. I am tempted to call this video eating steak with rye because that's what you're about to watch me do. Oh, look at that. I really think I got the perfect doneness for what I like. And that's why I like using the thermometer. As I mentioned outside, if you know how to do it just by touching the steak or some intuition, go for it. The thermometer is the way that I do it because I find that I just don't mess up. But let's see how it tastes. Whoa. Honestly, for a choice steak, which there's nothing wrong with, I wasn't expecting that level of tenderness, but this is super tender. I am a big fan of rosemary. And when it perfumes the butter like that and you add those mushrooms and they soak up that flavor, it is just such an amazing taste to this. Oh. That coffee garlic rub really helped develop a nice crust on the outside with the direct sear on those Mallory cast iron grates. It really adds that texture to it, gives you a little bit of a crunch when you bite through, but as you can see, it's not overcooked at all, it's not burned. That's called a crust, that's what you want. Now, this rub was a gift from my sister-in-law. Thanks, Deirdre. She knew that I'd used coffee and other rubs, and she saw this and grabbed it, and I have to say, knowing that this comes from South Africa and that other spice blend that I really liked from Trader Joe's, that South African smoked seasoning, I really can't wait to see what other rubs or seasonings they can bring out of South Africa. So all it took to get a terrific steak here was a nice rub overnight in the refrigerator to absorb those flavors, a nice hot grill for some sear time and for some indirect time, a nice little butter sauce on top. This is gonna make a fantastic meal. Holy moly, this is good.